I think there's a few indications that if you were to take the competition, if you will, that exists between small business in the United States as it relates to doing business with the federal government and large mega corporations doing business with the federal government, the small businesses are at a relative disadvantage. One of the big disadvantages is that the mega corporations in the United States that focus on the federal marketplace, on serving the federal government, they spend hundreds of millions of dollars each year on lobbying, both directly and indirectly. If you take the combined lobbying value of Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Northrop Grumman, and you combine that figure for the last 10 years of lobbying, you get close to $500 million spent on lobbying to U.S. congressional members and others, both directly and indirectly. The small business community as a collective community has not spent anything close to 1/10 of that. And in that respect, there's a need for an organization to be able to ethically and properly present the interest of small business interests to the federal government and to policymakers as well. First of all, the public hearings by the SBA, first we have to go to the politics of the SBA and the politics of the government. If it is true, and it is true, that these large corporations spend hundreds of millions of dollars in special lobbying to U.S. Congress and also to federal agencies, then the question is, what effect does that actually have? Well, the effect that that actually has is that the federal government, policymakers in the federal government, including the SBA, okay, because many positions in the SBA are politically appointed, they have sometimes a vested interest in ensuring that the congressman or the U.S. senator that gets lobbied by these large corporations is happy, and that they're not put in a position to where those special interests are somehow challenged. And so in this respect, we have a situation in which the bureaucratic nuances of many agencies within the federal government, including the SBA, may not necessarily and ethically and truthfully look after the interests of the small business community. And in that respect, all of the community forums that you see, all of the feedback sessions, all of the rulemaking requests, all of these are nothing but a bunch of bureaucratic hurdles to actually have the small business community looked after properly. And in this respect, an organization like NAFCA is basically going to call it what it is, which is that there's currently a significant structural problem in the way that the U.S. federal government does business with the small business community, and this is the process in which change is going to be effectuated. Every dollar that the small business community gains in revenue, as it relates to either increasing size standards or somehow mandating that the federal government has to do certain business with small business, that's $1 less that will be going to the large corporations that do this lobbying in the hundreds of millions of dollars. And you can bet your dollar that these organizations are going to fight tooth and nail to ensure that small business cannot get their fair share of the federal marketplace.
We're very disappointed that the present proposed regulations basically have no teeth.
We're proposing to define subcontracts to give a little clarity to what's supposed to be included in the pool and what's not supposed to be included in the pool.
There's not a single piece of evidence of the ability of those regulations to really be able to make any change, because all is in reporting, in review. There's no concrete standard that basically says to the large businesses, you shall do this, okay? And as long as there's not a shall do this, we're going to be in the same situation as we've been the last 30 years for the next 30 years.
It's up to us to find solutions, and we don't have to accept the status quo. We can either choose to continue to complain, or we can join together and change our destiny.
The U.S. government does not have the stomach to protect the interests of the small business community because it is too cumbersome. The subcontracting program indeed has not met the original intent of the subcontracting provisions of Public Law 95-507, Section 211.
Right now, there's no way of forcing the prime contractors to abide by these laws. Basically, you can threaten them all you want, but there's nothing you can do.
I think most people would be shocked to learn that, in fact, the government does not make full use of the small business, does not really favor small businesses the way the policies seem to say that they do. I think the American public would be somewhat disheartened to know that these policies are not being well implemented.